Hello everyone, welcome to this video. We are going to see how are we going to integrate Video SDK into a WordPress website, right? So Video SDK is a one of the great video calling API provider, which is very easy to integrate. They have a lot of things to explore. You can see there is pre-built, there is JavaScript SDK, there's React, and many other options here. You can just go and explore their website, which is VideoSDK.live. Right now, let's jump into the plugin where we create a plugin, WordPress plugin, which will integrate Video SDK video calling facility inside a WordPress website. Right now, let's jump in. Now we have this WordPress installation here. Now I am going to create a plugin which will do what I just explained. Right now I'm going to my text editor, and if I go to the backend of my WordPress website, where you can see I'm inside WP content inside the plugins. Right now I'm going to create a folder here, which is I'm going to name it as Sleek Video SDK integration something, or embed, whatever. You can just name it whatever you want. I am going to drag that folder in here. Right now we have that in the editor. Now right click, I'm going to create a new file, which is I'm going to save this as Sleek Video SDK embed.php. Now if I open the PHP tag, close the PHP tag, here I can write the plugin details. Now writing this plugin line by line gonna take a long time, and it's gonna be a very long video for you. So what I'm gonna do is I have already written a blog post on how we do things, right? So here there's some prerequisites where you need to have a free Video SDK account, and you need to generate a Video SDK API key, which I already did. I'll show you that in a second before we go and create this. So here, this is the basic plugin description, where I can copy this, go to my editor, paste it. So this is nothing but what is this plugin name, author, and what is this plugin about. So if I just save this and go to my plugins page, if I reload, I can see my new plugin here, right? So if I activate, it will activate, but nothing's happened because there is nothing in this plugin. Right now let's go and build the plugin. If I go back to the blog post, now we need to create a settings page where you can enter your Video SDK API key so that it can be saved in the database, right? So for that you need to copy this code and go to the editor, put it here. So what is this function actually doing? So this is the action hook. In this hook we are calling this function where we create a submenu page inside the settings, right? If I save this, if I go back here, I'm gonna get some errors, but you just need to understand that. So if I go to settings, you can see that it's Video SDK settings. But if I click on Video SDK settings, which is called a submenu page, you can see that it's a submenu page, right? If I click on that, probably I'm gonna get an error. Yeah, you can see that, right? Because I have said when somebody clicks on this Video SDK settings, go and call this function, but we haven't defined the function yet. That's why we see this error. Right now if I come back here, go to the blog post, here we can see that I can activate the plugin, and this is the callback function. So what are we going to have in this function? This page's purpose is to provide you an interface where you can enter the Video SDK API key. You can enter that and save that so that it's saved in the database. Now let's go build that interface. So if I just copy this code, copy, and I'm going to paste that here, save this, go back to the interface, reload this page. Now we can see this, right? You can probably see that I already have a key, but I'm just gonna delete that. Okay, now we have a page where we have a title and we have an input field where you can enter your Video SDK API key, which you get from your Video SDK account, right? Now we have created a plugin, we have created a submenu page where we can save the API key into the WordPress database, right? Now let's go to the Video SDK where you can click on login. You can continue with your Google account, or you can create an account by entering your email and all those sort of things. You can go to the API keys here, and you can see we have you can create as many API keys as you want based on your plan, whatever the plan you choose in the Video SDK, right? Now you can enable or disable any API key based on your requirements. And then when you enable an API key, you can see you can restrict that API key to that particular domain. If you are having your mywebsite.com, you can restrict this API key to work only with mywebsite.com. So if somebody steals your API key and been using somewhere else, it won't work. So it's just a tip. Right now I'm not going to give any restriction because we need to make it work in my localhost. So all I need to do here is copy the key, go back to the interface we have created, paste the key here, click on save. When you click on save, this API key will be saved in the site options table in your WordPress installation. Now let's go back to the code we have copied and pasted. So this is the interface you're seeing there, where it's a very little form with just one input and a save button. When you enter something and click on save, you can see that we are updating the API key into the WordPress options table with this key. So sleek underscore video SDK underscore API underscore key, and you're free to go modify all these the keys I'm using here. I mean the option names I'm using here, right? You're free to change the function names, options name, whatever you want. This is just a boilerplate where you can extend and do whatever you want, right? Now let's go to the next thing. And if I go back to my blog here, so we can see the VideoSDK API key that will be saved. Now what's next thing? We need to create a shortcode. So where there's a lot of ways where you can show the VideoSDK meeting interface in your WordPress website in a page or in a post. That's up to you, but there's a lot of ways. But here I'm going to adapt to making it work with a shortcode. Let's say this is a shortcode I'm creating, sleek-VideoSDK-room. So you can just change the shortcode to whatever you want. When somebody puts the shortcode in a page or in a post, they'll be seeing a VideoSDK video call interface there, right? That's the idea behind creating this shortcode. Now let's copy this and put it in our plugin. So after this, I'm just going to put it here. I have already written the code with necessary comments there. So this is just a boilerplate. So the shortcode content goes here. So then what is all these rest of things? So this is the hook where we instruct the WordPress to create or register a shortcode called sleek-VideoSDK-room, right? Now when this shortcode is being used anywhere in the WordPress website, we are instructing WordPress to come and call this function, and we are defining the function here. Whatever you written in this function will be echoed or displayed wherever you use this shortcode, right? That's the idea, basic idea of how the shortcode works. So let's go and check if that's true. So if I say echo, this is from shortcode. Okay, I'm just going to save this And if I just copy the shortcode and go to a page, so I already have my meeting, a page here which I created. If I go in there, you can see I already created a shortcode. I mean, if you want, I can just delete that. Need to go click here, click on the shortcode, paste the shortcode, click update. If I go and view that page, I should see this is from shortcode. You see that? If I go here, this is from shortcode. Really? Yes. All right. I just want to make a point that whatever you do there will be reflecting here. That's all. So I'm just gonna delete all this nonsense. So now the next section, we are going to create the video SDK interface, right? If I go back here to my blog post, next we are going to create this piece of code. It might look very long code, but I'm going to explain how easy it is to grab. So I'm just going to, copy all this. I'm going to replace this with this one. Yeah. Now what I'm doing here, so first when the shortcode content goes here, right? So what I'm checking if a user is logged in, because we are creating a page or an interface where only the logged in people can join the video call or whatever the call the video SDK provides, right? That's the purpose. So I'm checking if a user is logged in or not using this function, and then I'm checking if a post ID exists. What's this ads? So you can see by default a WordPress shortcode will have this attributes that's called ads, or you can name whatever you want. So when you pass parameters, you can assign those parameters here. In our shortcode, we are not passing any parameters. It's just a plain shortcode. In that case, this attribute functions will assign the current post ID to the variable called post underscore ID. So I'm creating post underscore ID a variable, and I'm checking if there is any parameters I have sent via shortcode. No, then fine. Then I have global post, grab the current post ID, assign it to post underscore ID. That's what I'm using here, right? So what's the purpose? Why should I get the current post ID while we are creating a video SDK? Yes, that is because you're going to create a video SDK calling interface inside a post or a page. So I need to know the post ID or page ID of that particular interface, right? So we need that because we need to create unique rooms and unique calling interface. So if you have 4 meeting rooms in your WordPress website, one is for project discussion, another is for interviews, another is for just lunch break time. So all these 3 should have 3 different unique room names and room IDs, right? So in that case, how can I differ these 3 pages or posts based on their post ID? That's why I need this current blog post ID, right? I'm creating unique name for the rooms. So now I'm double checking. I definitely have the current post ID, and then I come here, get the participant name. How am I getting the participant name? I'm calling this function. Where did I define this function? We are going to define this function shortly. Participant name, I can just grab the user's display name or first name or last name. It's very easy. Why do we need a function for that? Yes, it's easy, but what if a person's name has a single quotation or some special characters in it? That gonna break the calling interface, because the calling interface is a pre-built JavaScript API code, so which gonna sometime cannot escape these special characters. So that's why we created a special function where we do some sanitization and then assign the resultant value as participant name, and we are going to get the API key which we saved in the backend in our custom submenu page we created. And then how are we going to create a room ID or room name? It's very easy. Grab your current WordPress website title, and then combine it with the current post title. It must be a meeting, or it might be lunch break, it might be a project conference, whatever the page you have created, the website name, the page name, and then the current page or post ID. Based on this, we are creating a unique room ID, right? And the room display name should be just the room name, my meeting room, or lunch break room, or project discussion, or whatever it should be. So there's a room ID and there's a room display name. So the ID should be unique, display name can be whatever you want, a user reading interface, right? So it can be whatever the catchy name you want to keep. Now I'm checking if a current user is an admin or not. So how can we know if user is an administrator? Just checking if user can do the administrative things. Yes, no. And now why are we saying this in a variable? Because in your requirements you can extend this to saying if somebody has a membership, and if that membership has these permissions, has he had these add-ons purchased, then have those permissions. If user is in the lunch break, then make him as admin. If user is in the project discussion, no, he is not an admin. So you can customize here to say if a user is an admin, yes or no, not only based on their WordPress rules, but all your custom rules and all those requirements. You can write it as a function if you want. That's why I made admin by default no. If you can check as many conditions as you want and make him admin yes or no based on those conditions, right? Now we are going to create a div which will have this unique ID. Now this is the container where the meeting will be loaded. Okay, now what's all this script here? Where did I get this script from? If I go back here, if I go back to the dashboard, if I click on documentation, you can see there's Prebuilt SDK guide. Click on that, and here you can see how to create API key, which we already did. Click on client setup. There is your boilerplate code for how we can load the calling interface, and here they have defined what is what. But if I go back to our code, here we have defined the name should be the participant name, the meeting ID should be the unique meeting room ID I have created, the API key is whatever we have saved in the database, and the container ID is whatever the container ID you used here in the div where the meeting should be loaded. Use the same ID and put it here. So we are telling VideoSDK API to use the name, the meeting ID, API key we have, and telling that please load the meeting in this container, in this div. That's what we are instructing here. And then these are, do you want the mic enabled by default, true or false? Webcam enabled by default, true or false? Participant can toggle self webcam, true, yes, of course. They need to switch off or switch on their webcam and mic, that we need to give that true. And you can see all the other options here. Now you can see why we had this admin SR now. If I go here, only admins need to have this screen sharing ability. That's why if admin equal to yes, then allow them to share the screen. Yes, don't allow them to share the screen. So this is why we have this. And I want you to, I'm not going to preach about each and every option here in this video SDK. That's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to show the video SDK inside the WordPress page. Right now, if I go this and save this, I'm gonna get an error. Why? Let's go and see. If I go to the front end. If I reload, I'm going to get an error. See that? Why? Because we didn't define these two functions yet. I told that we have a sanitization function inside uh, inside this, where we get the sanitized participant name and sanitized room title, right? So let's go back to the blog I have written. Now these are the two functions. If I just copy them, go back to the plugin code, and I'll put it here. So what's this? How are we getting the participant name? It's very easy. When this function is called, it grabs the current user, right? And I'm just initializing the name variable into an empty string. Then I'm checking if user has a first name. Yeah, then put the first name here. And if he has a last name too, yeah, great. Then add a space and add a last name. That's his name. Done. Return the name. So before returning, we are doing the escape special characters. We are only allowing alphabets and numbers, and of course spaces. That's all. Remove all the special characters except spaces, right? And if the user doesn't have a first name, then we go and check his display name. If he has a display name, yeah, assign the display name, return, escape, and then return. If he doesn't have a first name, if he doesn't have a display name too, then grab his current user login, assign that to the name variable, do all the sanitization, and return that. That's why we don't want to do all these things inside the what is it called, the shortcode function. That's why I created a separate function for that. And now, escaping the room title, I'm going to send the room title here, and the room title is a string which this function receives, and it removes all the special characters, and it again remove the multiple hyphens within the single one and everything, and returns the sanitized, completely escaped string to the function where we use it in the interface. Now, since we have added back these two functions, will this work? Yes, of course it should work. If I reload this, voila, you can see that. Yeah, meeting is connected. Yeah, perfect. Now it shows me. Now you can see the meeting has been loaded. I'm the only user in it. If I just double click on this, you can see the complete interface. I can enable my mic, and I can enable my webcam. You can see the participants. You see that? If I click on configuration, I can allow either I need to load this in the SD or in the HD, or I can change the layout. I can see if there is a grid. You can see how many grids you want to see in your screen. If you have big screen, you can have 12. If you have small screen, you can have 6. That's up to completely you. You can see all the functions and all features you have in this in this interface. You can see I'm an administrator. That's why I have this share screen ability. Now let's go and create a user who is not a an administrator, and see what happens. Right now, let's if I copy this meeting, if I go to incognito, try loading this meeting, what will happen? Hello, you need to log in to join this meeting. You remember that we have restricted that, saying somebody needs to be logged in before they need to do it. So we are handling that here, right? It's our code. So you need to log in to join the meeting. So if I go back to the WordPress interface, click on this users, I'm going to create a new user. Let's say John. Email is john@something.com, and John Doe, and I'm going to John Doe. Yeah, don't worry. So it's just a subscriber. Add new user, right? So I'm going into the John account now. Yeah, everything is good. So if I go back to this one, click on login, So I'm going to click on John 123. What did I do? Is it John Doe? Yeah. Now if I go back here and grab the meeting and go to the meeting page, my meeting page. Yeah, now it's loading because I'm logged in. I can see the myself, John Doe, and the other one is admin, right? Now if I double click on this, I can see the full screen view. If I go to the participants, you can see me and admin, right? If I go back to the normal screen where I'm logged in as administrator, if I open this, I can see me and John Doe. You can see the John Doe has first name and last name. That's why it's grabbing the first name and last name. And me, in the other case, the admin account doesn't have first name and last name. That's why it's grabbing the user ID itself. Now, if I go back to my profile, you can see I don't have first name and last name. My display name is admin. Now, if I say Sleeksoft admin, right? First name and last name, and update profile. If I go back here, reload this page where I'm logged in as John Doe, and if I just click this, it's not being picked up yet. I think I need to save it again. Oh, I found the issue. So I need to reload my interface here so that VideoSDK can understand that I have updated my first name and last name, so that if I go back to John Doe's interface, if I reload that, you can see Sleeksoft admin here, right? Now, if I double click on this, John Doe is a subscriber. He cannot see share screen button, but whereas I am logged in as administrator, I can, if I double click, can see the present screen or share screen option here, right? So now this is my meeting page. Can I create multiple meetings? Yes, you can. If you go to pages, click on add new page, and let's say project meeting, right? Now what's our shortcode? It's in the code. I'm just going to the code. Sorry, I didn't yeah, just grab that, or you can just grab this and put it here, publish. Now if I view this page, I should see a meeting, and the beauty here is this meeting ID is different from this my meeting ID. Now the users in this will not be added to this meeting, because this is a separate room and this is a separate room. So once you have this plugin, this shortcode, you can use in many pages, and you can allow people to have individual meetings in multiple pages, so nobody will be overhearing or interfering with other meetings. So this is how we can create a WordPress plugin which will have a authorized logged in users only meeting rooms, where you can have a secure and private chat with your team members about various projects or anything, right? So this is how this works, and I'm telling you again that this is just a boilerplate of how we can create a plugin where we can integrate video SDK into a WordPress website, right? Now there's many other options where you can see we have API reference and all these things. For if I go to quick sort documentation homepage, you can see you can create with React, or you can create the React Native, JavaScript for mobile users, and you can see There's Prebuilt SDK, where this interface is coming from Video SDK itself. They are pre-building all these interfaces. Or if you are a pro developer, where you can create your own interface and you can create the buttons and uh, define what each button can do and all those sort of things. And there are some code examples and API reference. Please go through this documentation. I'm going to leave my blog post link, this Video SDK documentation link, and all the necessary stuff in the video's description. This should be very useful for you. And how can we extend this plugin in the future? Yeah, because there's a million ways you can extend this plugin. For example, if you can go here, the video settings, and you can have more settings like restrict only for logged in users, and admin permissions, whether you want to restrict screen share only for admins or not, yes or no, and many options you can define here. And you can use the user choice in this, where I am right now restricting the screen share only for admins, but you can define there in the settings page, and you can check here whatever the setting. If the setting is yes, allow screen share. If the setting is no, don't allow. So you can visually allow users to play with the settings, and you can write the code, improve the code to be robust, where it works with all type of settings you have. I strongly recommend you to go check the Video SDK official documentation for more options, more dependencies, and everything. And please remember that this is not a free video calling facility. They have a pay as you go option, where you can opt for whatever the requirements you have, right? Thank you for watching this video. I hope this is helpful for you to start with any video calling integrations you're doing in your website. Thank you so much. Happy coding.